You're so right, Dotsie. Everybody's different in how they approach these things. For me, seeing my husband's transformation was the beginning of understanding how powerful it could be. Studying over a long period of time allowed me to let those learnings sink in and to be able to apply them in my practice. And interestingly, I'd already read, excuse me, I'd already read some of the environmental benefits of plant-based living beforehand, but it hadn't pushed me over that threshold into actually making changes myself. So interestingly for me, it took a lot more of a sort of a personal conviction in the end to decide I was going to actually make that shift. And it was more of an ethical choice for me in the end when I began to understand that I wanted to widen my circle of compassion. You know, human health has always been a passion of mine. But when I understood that my actions affected so deeply, not just my own life, but the lives of others, and that those actions are not always going to be a compassionate choice if I don't think about where things that I consume are coming from, that was actually my strongest motivation to make personal changes. And I think that's interesting when it comes to health, because, you know, when it comes to my patients, many of them have important health conditions that they're really motivated to want to shift, or at least to improve. And I think unless you have a health condition that you're really passionate about improving, or that you have some other very personal conviction to make changes, it's going to be much more of a challenge to stick with it 100%, because, you know, life gets in the way, routines shift, you know, you're not always in a place where it's convenient. There's 101 things that could get in the way of that. So I think it takes more than just motivation. I think it takes either a shift in identity or a real conviction that you want to be somebody quite different from the person that you were before in order to make it something that you sustain 100%. And I don't think everybody has to go 100% in all honesty, because, you know, in terms of vegan populations, I love the fact that veganism is growing, and I'm a huge vegan advocate. I myself am vegan, but I understand that for my patients, sometimes that's not going to be something that they'll achieve for whatever reason. And so I always tell them to do whatever they can to improve their health, whatever their mental bandwidth allows, whatever they feel they can do at that time. And, you know, when they're really motivated, it can take a 5-minute phone call. When they have other things going on, or they're not so motivated, it can take many different consultations and many different things to realize, oh, maybe I'll change this about my lifestyle, or maybe I can do this. So it really varies person to person.
What do you recommend? Because you see patients for such a short time, do you have a packet that you give them, or do you recommend they watch certain documentaries or read certain books? I think our audience would like to know, so they can either watch them themselves or read them or recommend to others.
Yeah, that's such a good question, Alexandra. And I think for me, honestly, it's actually the reason I wrote my book, because I wanted to be able to tell my patients what the research shows in a really simple to understand way that they can read and take in without having to read all the scientific studies. And also some recipes, so they can literally understand why, then understand how in one package. And obviously, I'm not selling my book to my patients. I created a website, though, which is, of course, free, so that similar resources to the book are available on topics like heart disease and pregnancy and diabetes and child health and all sorts of things. So they can click on the links and the podcasts and all the things that I've talked about and get a lot of an understanding through that for free. But then if they do want to delve a bit deeper, then they can buy the book. And that's the reason I wrote the book. I wanted it to be something a bit similar to How Not to Die, but not so long, and with colorful, color-coded sections and and real life examples, and then a few recipes as well that people can see photographs of and feel inspired by, that they want to start giving it a try.
And this is at gemmanewman.com.
Yeah.
Is that the website everybody can go to? You don't have to be a patient in the
Everybody,
UK.
exactly. Everybody can go to that.
Yeah.